What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cart Smart TV, and you are looking at another EZGO TXT. This is the 36 volt model, and we are going to do another forward and reverse conversion with the alternate forward and reversing solenoid that is kind of new to the concept, but I'm going to get into all of that for you. Let's take a look at our kit first. So you're going to get the wiring schematic you need to wire this up, your wiring harness, your forward and reverse switch, the forward and reverse pod, and last but not least, our forward and reversing solenoid. And so what we're going to be doing is getting rid of this rod, that handle, and everything underneath this cover. Alright guys, first thing you want to do is get the power off the battery pack. And on the EZGO TXT, the power wires, which your negative is going to be the back battery, your positive is going to be the front battery. So we're going to get those two cables off. Next thing we're going to do is we want to get this cover off here, this part here, all of that, this rod that leads over to your handle, which is there, all of that's coming out. So you unplug everything that's here, and then there's two bolts under the switch that you take out. The whole switch will come out at that point. Don't forget, you got to get your high amp cables off the back of it too, and hopefully they're tagged to what they go to. If not, you're going to need to make sure that you find out which wire goes to what letter, like M minus, S2, S1, F1, F2, all that good stuff. Tag them, because you're going to need to know where to put them on your solenoid when you put your solenoid back in. Going to go from my high amp cables on the back of the switch now, normally 13 mil. Once I get this switch out, I'll show you guys what this looks like. Alright, so now I got my high amp cables out of the way. We're going to take and put 14 mil on the nut that holds our rod to the switch and get that out of the way. You get you a Phillips head screwdriver and take your handle off. Alright, there's our handle out of the way. Okay, so you can see right there this black spot. Okay, that's where the rod goes through the body to be able to grab that handle that I just showed you guys. This whole mechanism will come out of the way with the rod still attached. Pull that all the way out of your way. This whole thing goes. You do not need this anymore. None of this. Alright, so now we're going to get our switch, which is right there. We're going to get that out. Normally it's 13 millimeter bolts that hold it to the frame. It's only two of them. Alright guys, so this is the piece of junk, like you've seen before, that we're going to be getting rid of completely. The forward and reverse switch, this is another one that we just use parts off of. But in most cases, this is what your switch is going to look like, of course. And your plate here at the bottom is held on by a screw here, and same on the other side. There, you can see the nuts, these two right here. So get them off so you can get this plate back. This plate will help you install the new solenoid, the new forward and reversing solenoid, in the same location as this switch was. I'm also going to hang on to the bolts that came off of that, because you could probably use them to put the solenoid back to the plate. And so that's what I'm going to do, is that our solenoid has mounting locations right here and right here. I'm going to put this to this plate just like this, some way, somehow. It does not matter as long as you're comfortable with the way you have it. So yeah, that's the way I'm going to set this up. That way it can be easily accessed if ever needed be. So there you guys, so there it is. A couple of self tappers, works just fine. Hook it to the bracket, I'm going to face my solenoid towards the rear of the cart so that the cables have got plenty of room to come to when they're hooking up to our lugs. And then also your small wires are going to plug into these male blades right here. Of course, your ground's going to go on the bottom, and then your green and yellow will go on one of the two sides, and then you'll come in and power it up with the power wire. We'll get to all that later, but this is what I do when I change out to this forward and reverse solenoid. Alright guys, so now we got our solenoid in here. Our big cables are hooked up. I'm going to walk with you through that on what that is. So our high amp cables are hooked to this switch right here. Okay, you have a 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Alright, so down here at 6 o'clock you have your main power cable coming in. This is your this is your power to that 6 o'clock position. Okay, that comes directly off of the B positive of the controller. But right there, right here, is a letter. So this one was A. There's going to be another one with the letter B right there. And then here is C. And then D. Okay? So, and this one does say D on it. It's just underneath. It's kind of hard to see most likely. There it is. You can see it just a little bit right there. Okay, so what you want to do if you don't have a schematic from the original wiring harness, okay, you're going to take the letters, you're going to follow that cable all the way back to your motor. Tag it to what it is on the motor, like whether it's A1 or A2 or S1 or S2. Okay, so here our B goes to S2. Alright, the D goes to S1, and the C is going to go to A2. Okay, get those out of your way. Those all come from the motor. Yep, all those come from the motor. And then what you're going to have to do with your A, which is the main power, you're going to take A off of B positive. Take that wire completely off, and you can see right there it says B plus on this wire. This is the long wire. This is the short wire. Do not remove the short wire. Remove the B positive wire, because you're going to bring your M minus wire over to the B positive and put it with the short wire. Okay, be sure you use 2 wrenches, because if not you will tear the tab of the controller right off, and that will not be good. Okay, so there is our B positive with the A. Hopefully that's easily seen. The end that's at the controller says B positive. Hold on to this wire, and I'll show you what we'll do with it once we get this M minus wire off. Same thing for the M minus tab. Make sure you're using 2 wrenches so that you don't bend the tab of the controller. So there's our M minus, which is actually A1 at the motor. So you're going to bring M minus over to the B positive tab of the controller. Okay, so I'll say that again. So the A1 wire that's on the motor is coming all the way over to your M minus. Remove that wire from the controller and bring it right here to the battery positive, which is B positive on the controller. You can identify it by the short wire that comes from the solenoid up to the high amp tab of the controller. Move your M minus wire to the B positive wire. Move this out of the way good. You can always come back and do a little wire management again later. Alright, so we removed the short B positive wire, and we're going to go to the M minus on the controller, and then the M minus right there on your forward and reversing solenoid. Battery positive, or A, wire now goes to the M- from the controller, your high amp tab, down to the M- on your solenoid. These will be labeled. As you can see there, right here is my S1, right there is my A2 tab, and then right there is my S2 tab. The M- is on the front of the solenoid here, which you cannot see here, but once you get it, you will see that it is there. Now that you have the high amp hooked up to everywhere you need from the motor and the controller, it's time to go ahead and tighten those down, and just hand tighten them good, and that's all you need to do. So when you're hooking it up, you hook it to the switch with your red and white always in the middle of the switch. Alright, so that wire will go to your hot side of the solenoid. You can see the red and white wire here. Leads us all the way back to our switch. Alright, so that's the way when the solenoid fires off, that 36 volts passes through this wire and fires up the switch, so you can tell it which direction you want to go in. Okay, so next wire is going to be the green one. It's going to go to the outside, is what we're going to call it here. Okay, it comes all the way around, down through, as you can see, and plugs into your forward and reversing solenoid. So from our angle, it's plugged into the top blade on the right side. I face the solenoid towards the controller, so the green wire will plug into the top male blade sticking off of the forward and reverse solenoid here. Okay, so now let's go back to the switch. So to the inside is what we'll call it, is it yellow. Of course it goes all the way around as well. I've got it routed to come around and in front of the solenoid. You can see it right there plugged into the other top side blade on the forward and reversing solenoid. So this one, the yellow wire is on the left side. Alright, and then the only other wire in this wiring harness you have to worry about is this white wire you see right here. Okay, so you hook it straight to your negative on the last battery. Okay, and on the solenoid, when you get the solenoid, you're already going to have a looper wire. You can see the black casing of it right there. That's the heat shrink on it. It loops from one side of the solenoid to the other, and so you're going to bring that white wire to the bottom right or left side, because this is your ground. I've got it, it's underneath this M- terminal right here. It's plugged to the same right side of the solenoid as the green wire, but it's below the green wire when you plug it up. And then the final thing you have to do to make sure you get cart operation is to remember that your charge port has an interlock wire. It's basically the wire that keeps the golf cart from being able to operate while it is charging. Well, that's important, because if you don't power that small wire, if you don't power up this lockout wire right here, you cannot make the golf cart operate, because it's thinking that it's charging all the time at that point. So you're going to hook your charger back up to your battery. It's the black and the white cable. Okay, you're going to hook it back up, and then you're going to have a red wire that would have plugged into your forward and reverse switch when it was right here. And so to get the cart to power up through the key switch properly, you'll make you a little jumper, and go from the blue wire that was plugged to the micro switch on the forward and reverse that was here on the forward and reverse switch. Going to make you a jumper between the what's called the reed switch wire or the interlock. Make a jumper between them. Go to the blue wire from the red wire, and you will have power to the system. And that's what we are going to test now. Let me hit the pedal here. Alright, so that's in forward direction. I'm going to take it to reverse. Hit the pedal. And then last but not least, you're going to put all your stuff together. Pop your switch in your switch pod there, and then you'll put your switch pod there. Put a couple screws in it, and then you can do your wire management with the wire ties and getting it all nice and neat in there. Alright guys, so there it is, all buttoned up. Our pod's attached to the cart. Everything's all managed up nicely. Now you can put this in a loom if you desire. Being I work on these constantly, I normally keep them out so I can see what color wires they are. Very easy to probe, all that good stuff. Cover back on there, cover back on here, and it is all set to go home to its owner. Appreciate you watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions about what you see, please feel free to reach out to us on the channel, or I'm pretty sure our phone number is on there. Give us a call and we'll take care of you guys. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.